Tafadhalini tuketi. My brother Gideon Moi, Senator Baringo and Chair of KANU, our party chair, Madam Agatha Solitei, National Director of National Elections Board, and the Elections Board here, I can see your team is here, Mumo Matemu and others, your Vice Chair, Waheshimiwa wabunge, mabibi na mabwana, our media, welcome to SKM Command Center. I think by now this place is not new to all of us. Today, I want to be very brief. I know the country is almost at a standstill, with a lot of expectation, a lot of anxiety, and I want to ask all of us to please relax. Please relax. It will be recalled by many Kenyans that, I forget the date, but it was the famous Jacaranda grounds in Embakasi East, when I declared that I was willing, ready, and able to say my brother Raila Odinga Tosha for a third time. But since that time, a lot of things have happened that have tended to negate that very spirit. Recently, I went on a tour of Mombasa through Makueni and Taita Taveta counties and a bit of Kwale, received in Mombasa by very enthusiastic Kenyans who are telling me, we will not allow you to go and do that interview. And they gave their reasons. Having deputized my brother Raila twice, was even President Kibaki's vice president, they thought we had the credentials. And so at the end of it all, I presented myself, much to the consternation of so many of them who felt I shouldn't have. But those Kenyans who know my very clear stand on humility and values and servant leadership, I felt I didn't want to give the impression that I was arrogant, that I was proud. I didn't want to appear before eminent personalities like Bishop Mjenga, Bishop Zacchaeus Okoth, and others. And I took the decision then to go. In fact, immediately after I finished that conversation, just strictly not an interview, I left for an assignment in Juba, South Sudan. And when I was there, I tried to follow what's going on, and that this matter of who will be Raila's running mate will actually be resolved by Raila himself, myself, possibly Moi, who has been a very key member of the council established under the Azimio-OKA. The council chair has been President Uhuru Kenyatta. So I want Kenyans to know we've been in full consultations, that although the eminent persons have done their work, the final decision has actually been taken by the candidate himself, the Honorable Raila Odinga, his own decision, which I respect. And I wish him and his running mate, our sister Mother Karua, well. But I also made it very clear that if I know my country, if I know our country well, that decision will meet with overwhelming opposition. And therefore, we have agreed to go our separate ways. and compare notes as we move. I'm talking to you as my brother Gideon is here, and I know that some people have been saying Gideon was sent to rope Kalonzo in, but remember Gideon, when we had CJ, we used to call him Mr. Ropeman. He was supposed to rope. And I spoke this morning to Honorable David Ocheng, who is in the United States. Must have been very early for him, and he's fully with us in these things. So, in order to go our separate ways, the options are obvious, that we need to revisit the matter of the coalition under the Political Parties Amendment Act. And my honest opinion, and this is what I'm going to follow through after this, is OKA continues as originally established, Azimio continues as established, originally established, and we move on. We move on. Compare notes. We have a business here to save this land, to rid this land of corruption, to rid this country of negative energy, hatred, and our manifesto, Wiper Democratic Movement. You have snippets of the same 24-hour economy. When I was in Mombasa, I reminded everybody, hey, listen, don't worry about standard gauge railway. It's an important piece of infrastructure. Never mind the exorbitant cost or whatever others may think. But look at the bigger picture. Declare Mombasa and Lamu free ports and see what happens. What happens. And work 24 hours. Therefore, we need to reset our minds as Kenyans. I will be talking. In fact, I had convinced our political team, call them politicos, when we've been consulting on some of these issues. I said this week, I am going to be mute. But it became necessary because of the outcome of these consultations that I have to speak. Soon after this, I want to go mute for another 1 week to reflect and to think, because these are weighty matters. And I know people, the ordinary folks who rush out there, do their blogging, very good, paid to blog, call us names, do whatever they want to say, but we will remain very firm, very, very firm. Because I think the majority of Kenyans want an alternative between Kenya Kwisha and Azimio. That's now the fact. Kwa hivyo, hakika tutaweza. OKA, hakika tutaweza. And I'm saying what I'm just said here is in absolute good faith. In fact, the terms of engagement under this Grand Coalition Agreement is based on utmost good faith. And where there is no good faith, then you can't do business. And some of us have suffered the consequences of bad faith for far too long. I mean, for how long do people expect one Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka to be the one always to sacrifice? Always to sacrifice. And then after sacrificing, they mess up the country. We will not allow this to continue. So we are set. Amka mama, God bless you. Ameamka. You know, we are a party that, as Wiper Democratic Movement, that believes in gender parity, 50-50%. 50% women, 50% men in government. And that we remain committed to. Therefore, I must thank our elections board because, and I think the chair herself will say that, reflect, look at the history that we have walked since Kasarani, when, in my view, we had probably one, if not the best, organized National Delegates Congress. I see a governor candidate for Tharaka Nithi, Nyamu Kagwema, agreeing, because I think he joined from that point. And so the mandate was given to me to run for president, to negotiate with others. And when it became, and remember Kenyans, I said, this time I will negotiate for myself, because we have suffered injustice in the past. And I'm happy to say The results of those consultations are what I've told you. And we have agreed as brothers and as sisters in the interest of this country to go a separate way. And we will then, it is never too late to come back. It is never country. And therefore I want on my part to thank my brother President Uhuru Kenyatta, who has remained constant in this struggle of having to agree on who is a running mate. In fact, Kenyans had assumed at Jacaranda, when I said Raila tosha mara ya tatu, I remember my brother Gideon, we meeting at the people did not expect there will be a contest and then a dragging through the mud of one who has selflessly said this country is more important than all of us. Now I'm saying Kenya is important, yes, but those citizens living within our boundaries have a duty and responsibility to each other. Doing what? Betraying becomes. And you remember I've talked about politics of deceit. I don't want to continue. Today we called you because consequent upon those consultations, my brother Raila knows I'm naming my running mate. In fact, from Mombasa he came home to try to convince me to accept his choice of our sister Mother Karua. We did not agree, and I said, let's sleep over it. We slept over it, and last night we are at it. We did not again agree, so this is why we agreed that you will name Mother, and I will name my running mate today, as within. So ignore the interviews and whatever. The whole issue was Raila and me and my brothers, President Uhuru, and my brother Gideon Moi. So, it so happens that my name, as we speak, is before the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission as a presidential candidate for Wiper Democratic Movement. And that is a legal position. I know some people have expressed doubts about what can happen. To be honest with you, I'll be very frank and open. If OKA had not been messed up under this legal situation, I would have convinced my brother Gideon to be my running mate. I can tell you that. I still may have to. I said, the way forward is open, very open. And I'm going to lead in bringing this country together. Some people have very mistakenly argued, oh, now this is taking us back to 2007. If you are that type of a Kenyan, allow me to say, shame on you. With a lot of respect. And you want this country to go back to post-election violence of 2007? Why don't you, even if you want to be tempted to think that way, why don't you give me credit that I actually brought order to the country and stop the killing? And stop the killing. And ask yourself whether there was any killing at the strongholds of ODM Kenya as we then were before it became Wiper Democratic Movement. We saved literally this country. I'm quite sure we will not go that way again because we'll be winning this time. This time we are winning. This party has grown in leaps and bounds. As I speak to you, we have a candidature of about 106 members of parliament from across the country, from Moyale to Lungalunga, and from Dadaab to Kishi. This is a national movement. If, as I speak to you, we are the third largest political party during the 12th. My prayer and hope is that we are going to be either number 1 or number 2. We'll compete with our friends in Kano and others. So, what I've the decision I'm about to take are to take into account the future of these candidates. 22 senatorial candidates, 11 governors, over nearly 400 MCAs. If I just wound up and said, kwaheri ya konana, I devalue the ticket that you have been given. And worse still, by devaluing the same, others will take advantage and move into the party's strongholds and make you look funny. I'm there to make sure you remain solid and dignified. I think that was some very brief remarks so that Kenyans know. That's why I say relax. There's no hostility here. This is brotherly contest and others. But as we move on, we'll keep reviewing our position. But if I live in this country, if people are saying strength of Mount Kenya region, Lower Eastern, I don't know which other part, they are going to be shocked. I am from the mountain on the eastern side. Actually, neighbor to Professor Kithure Kindiki, whom I've mentored, a wonderful young Kenyan, Professor Kindiki. I actually appointed him secretary to Ministry of Constitutional Affairs, where our founding Secretary General, the late Mutula KALONZO Jr. Mutula and Kindiki worked very closely together. And so, he did his best. I wish him well. Unite this country is our business. We're going to unite. So, if the other side, Kwanza or something, had given it to Professor Kithure, they would have given it to me, because we're just divided by River Tana. And so when I say I'm from the eastern side of the mountain, they'll be shocked if I beat them completely in the mountain. Some of them said, I said I'm Kikuyu, I'm going to say I'm Luo or something. But the truth of the matter is, understand every Kikuyu word you speak. And it is not because I learned it, but because it is the way it is. You pick it. The same kind of conversation. So I do not bore you. Allow me then to now give you my nomination as my running mate during the August 2022, August 9 election. I am pleased to introduce my brother, Andrew Letepa Sunkuli. But who is Andrew Letepa Sunkuli? You may wish to ask me. You congratulate him later. I'm not through with him. I'm not through with him yet. Andrew is a 59-year-old native of Narok County with a zest for life and community service. His life and career is underpinned by desire to transform the lives of ordinary people. As a grassroots community leader, he has a conviction that through education and empowerment, any individual household can rise to their full potential regardless of where they start their lives from. And please accept that he's a member of the Mark community. One community that have been marginalized from the colonial times up to now. The business center, because it is their land. What is academic history reads as follows. From May 1985 to May 1988, now I actually read in the first person singular, I undertook my undergraduate studies at Kenyatta University in Nairobi, where I graduated with a bachelor's degree in education with majors in took me on a journey through psychology, statistics, history of education, a broad variety of literary genius and regional literatures, the history, structure, and usage of the English language, as well as the practical skills of teaching and classroom delivery. He's an accomplished teacher. Give him a clap for it. In February 1982, November to November 83, Kenya for my advanced level high school education, where I majored in English, Divinity, and Kiswahili, which is a language spoken by 200 million people in Eastern Africa. And I graduated with top scores. I wish it was me, but it's in the first person singular. January 78 to November 81, I attended Kilgoris Secondary School in Kenya, where I completed my certificate of secondary education with a Division I score and emerging the top student that year in the entire province. In 1988 to December 88, I was employed by the National Teacher Service Commission and posted to a prestigious high school known as Kabarak High School, where I had a short stint as a teacher of literature and English language. I actually interrogated him, Brother Giddy, on this matter under a tree. I asked him to, he's a literature student myself, and I remember some of the set pieces. I gave him one of the soliloquies in the Shakespearean tragedies, and it started like this. One of those serious soliloquies. It says, time is out of joint, oh cursed spite, that I was born to set it right. He goes on to say, you know, now I imagine if you're in Kenya today, wouldn't you think that time, like Shakespeare would have said, is out of joint, oh cursed spite. And then I wanted to say, because he was considering committing suicide, whether it is more honorable in the heart to suffer the slings of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them. I asked him, which of the Shakespearean tragedies was that? He had to Google a little bit. He ended up with Hamlet. He's an accomplished literature teacher. And that is what actually gave me myself the necessary backing to study law at the University of Nairobi. So I find a lot in common. And that is, gentlemen, I don't want to bore you with a lot of these things about him. January 74, director, chairman, and chief of a number of companies and organizations as follows. I founded and led the East African Leadership Center as executive chairman. Center was established to provide leadership training to middle-level managers of private, for-profit, not-for-profit organizations. With a staff of 30, we had a throughput of 600 individuals in those 9 years. My responsibilities included providing team leadership, ensuring the center stuck to its vision and core mandate, and overseeing all the key business processes. The East Africa Leadership Center was later sold to other investors. As the ELC was a small outfit, his salary stayed between $1,500 to $2,000 per month. Now, this tells you he knows how to begin humble. And my brother, should you become the President of the Republic, do not look at exhaustive numbers compared to this. And if you find you're earning so much, and of course, the thing I'll tell you as your leader is you will never steal, because stealing will militate against all that, what you try to do in trying to set up those qualities. January 2001 to 2003, while I was executive chairman of the East Africa Leadership Center, he served as a board director for Kenya Post Authority, that is KPA, having been appointed to that position by the President of the Republic at the advice of the Minister in charge of Sports and National Transportation. The KPA Authority is a large public sector organization with 7,000 employees and a fairly profitable record. As director, he chaired 2 subcommittees of the board, namely procurement and human resources, and as chair of HR, subcommittee, he led efforts to eliminate an actual deficit of over 100 million shillings, or dollars, I beg your pardon, which had nearly crippled the staff pension fund. He left the board voluntarily due to pressure of new assignments. And 2003 to 2006, he was Chief Executive Officer and Principal Owner of Rappas Publishing, a company a friend and I established to help the government of Rwanda to publish school books under a new post-genocide curriculum. Post-genocide, sounds very good. And using part of the staff of 50 teachers, we wrote and published from scratch textbooks for the entire primary school system. It was a tough feat considering the residual ethnic passions of the early post-genocide period. On the other side, he provided consultancy services to the New Times of Rwanda, which then was a weekly newspaper and the only English newspaper language paper in Rwanda. We helped turn it into a daily, and it's still the must-read newspaper in that country today. When he completed the Rwanda assignment, he created at least 10 editors in a country which had no book publishing industry and handed over the local business there to the nationals. Now, gentlemen, an accomplished publisher. So, political work. I came from a fairly political family, and so I'm never too far from political action. His other brother, you may remember, is Julius Nkuli, who is running as Member of Parliament for Kilgoris on Kano ticket. I've been involved, he's been involved in many political campaigns on behalf of the candidates at all levels of the electoral chain. In 2007, he played a key role in creating and implementing a communication strategy for the Kibaki Tena campaign. Kumbe, you are not even with us. Okay. Okay. And then in 2013, he ran for the seat of Narok Senator as an independent candidate, where he became a very strong second. Actually, he won. And I know the people who stole from him. That's why he earned the title. He earned the title, Senator Bila Deni. Ana Deni mtu yoyote. And then, in 2017, he did not contest, but instead played a key role in the presidential campaign for the Jubilee candidate. Again, he was against us. Currently, he's a candidate for the Narok senatorship on a Wiper Democratic Movement ticket, from whence we have convinced, we have actually managed to convince him to look to elect. I'm sure there are no short of senator candidates. Unfortunately, we will not have one on Wiper, but I think if what I'm hearing serves me right, the leakage in Narok is already causing a lot of excitement. He believes that he has a strong community mobilization skills that will come in handy at both the local and the national levels. So, who am I professionally? He asks that question of himself. I consider myself to be 1, a teacher, 2, a publisher, 3, a writer, 4, community worker, 5, businessman, and 6, a politician. He has authored or co-authored the following titles. Number 1, a dictionary of oral literature. Number 2, a guide to betrayal in the city. I would like to read that again. Number 3, a guide to things fall apart. That's by Chinua Achebe. Number 4, sing me a song, poems for primary schools. Number 5, the hero and the dream, a short story. Number 6, stories and poems in anthropologies. 7, many articles in newspapers. He's a family man and a devoted Christian. Devoted family man, devoted Christian with a wife and children. He likes extracurricular activities and interests. When he's not working, this is international travel. If he was a member of the 12th Parliament, he'd probably be arriving from Dubai, traveling. So, this information given this resume is correct to the best of my knowledge and recollection. Let's give Mheshimiwa Andrew Letaipa Sunkuli a very big hand. So I'm very pleased, my friends, fellow Kenyans, to commend Andrew Leteipa Sumkuli as my running mate. And I now hand over the rest of the program to Madam Agatha Solitei, Mumo Matemu, and the rest of the team to do the needful. We have a deadline which is supposed to be up to midnight, but I think we're in time. And thank you others for finding the time at very short notice. From here, we are hitting the ground running. Thank you.
Sure.